I can't even begin to describe how deep the self-loathing runs right now. When I think about what I did, the only thoughts that come up are, I hate you. How could you do that? You're so dumb. This mental spiral can go on for hours. It's like I can't escape the shame and disgust I feel for the person I've become. For context, I had an affair that lasted a little over a year. It started with someone from work, my AP, who seemed to be everything I felt was missing from my marriage. I know now how cliché it all sounds, but at the time, it was intoxicating. He showered me with attention, compliments, and excitement. I felt seen for the first time in years, or so I thought, but I was blind to the damage I was causing to my husband and child. After D-Day, things only got worse. My husband found out through a mutual friend who had seen me with AP. He confronted me. He was heartbroken, but still wanting to try to work things out. He begged me to go to marriage counseling, mostly for the sake of our child. He's a child of divorce, and before we had our child, he vowed never to let that happen to our future children. But I was so wrapped up in the fantasy I'd built with AP that I outright rejected the idea. I told him I was done with the marriage. The worst part is that it wasn't even true. I didn't know I was done. I was just so consumed by the affair that I couldn't see straight. I started going out with AP publicly, something that I justified to myself as freedom. My girlfriends cheered me on. While they went home to their husbands and children to be devoted wives and moms, they cheered me on to break my vows. Such friends. It felt exhilarating at the time, like I was finally making decisions for my own happiness. I even convinced myself that AP was my soulmate. Looking back, I was incredibly naive. I ignored all the red flags because I was too wrapped up in the attention and validation AP gave me. I wanted to believe that we had a future together, but as time went on, it became clear that AP was not as invested as I thought. He kept our plans vague, dodged serious conversations about commitment, and eventually I found out he had another woman in another city. I felt like a fool. I had left my husband, devastated my child, and ruined my marriage, only to discover that all that was for a facade. Now, the part that's hardest for me to admit is that I let AP's rejection impact me more than the reality of my failed marriage. When AP ghosted me and stopped answering my calls, I was crushed. The love bombing, followed by sudden silence, wrecked my mental health and self-esteem. I spiraled into depression, feeling not only the guilt of what I'd done to my family, but also the bitter sting of rejection from someone who never really valued me in the first place. Even now, I hate the fact that I am hurt because AP won't answer my calls. I'm still struggling with intense limerence, and it's shameful to admit that I think about AP more than I think about my divorce. I hate myself for still having lingering feelings for someone who used me, but I don't know how to shake it off. My focus should be on accepting the consequences of my actions, trying to co-parent effectively, and moving forward with the divorce process. But instead, I'm fixated on someone who was never real to begin with. The rational part of me knows that AP was manipulative, that he was never worth the destruction he caused in my life. I know I need to let go, but emotionally I feel stuck, as if my brain is wired to crave that fake love and validation he gave me. I've tried blocking him, deleting old messages, and going to therapy, but the pull is still there. So I guess I'm here to ask, how do I move on from AP when I'm still in this toxic limerence? How do I redirect my focus toward what really matters, like salvaging my relationship with my child and trying to rebuild some semblance of stability for them? How do I let go of this person who meant everything to me, even though it was all a lie? And most importantly, how do I begin to forgive myself for the damage I caused to the people who truly love me? Update. It's hard to describe how I feel right now. Numb, mostly. It's been almost 9 months since my first post. Last week, the divorce was finalized. I have to move my things out of what used to be our house, but now it's just his house. It's such a strange feeling. I never thought it would come to this. I know I only have myself to blame, but it's heartbreaking nonetheless. The worst part is my child's reaction. He's picked up somehow that I hurt his father badly. He somehow picked up, I'm the bad guy. He screams if I try to get close, and I'm not sure if it's just his own feelings or if his grandparents have said things that shaped his view of me. Either way, I've lost him. I never imagined it would be like this. I thought I'd have a chance to repair things with him, but he seems to loathe my very existence. The divorce process was brutal. My ex hired a cutthroat lawyer, even selling his car to cover the legal fees. I didn't get any share of our assets or alimony. The judge said I'm voluntarily unemployed because I quit my job because of AP. At that time, I assumed I'd receive financial support in the divorce, so I didn't rush to find another job and ended up spending most of my savings away too. My ex was granted full custody of our child, at least for now, since I currently have no place to live. I'm now scrambling to find a job, any job, just to have some income and hopefully start working towards some semblance of stability. I've never felt this loss before. I left my home and my child, all for a man who wasn't worth it, and the reality of it all has hit me like a freight train. One of the hardest things to accept is that I was still deeply in limerence when the court proceedings were happening. It was used against me in every possible way. My ex even sent me an email after the court ruling saying, "I do not hold any resentment. I want you to leave us alone." It was like a final nail in the coffin, one last reminder of how much I've lost and how I have to move on. Despite everything, I still find myself wanting to write to him, or worse, to my child. But we only communicate through email now, as per the custody agreement, and every message I send is scrutinized. It's hard to kill the last bit of hope, the dream scenario that I foolishly hold on to, the one where I fix everything and we somehow start over. I know it's not realistic, but the holidays are coming up, and I already know I'll be fighting the urge to reach out, to apologize, to say something, anything. So I'm here again, asking for advice. What's the best way to move forward when everything I hope for is gone? How do I stop myself from falling into the same patterns? From rewriting emails I shouldn't send? Or envisioning reunions that won't happen? I know it's up to me to kill this hope and start from scratch, but it feels so daunting. I feel like I'm pulling my own hair out, trying to stop myself from holding on to what's already dead. I'm ready to try to rebuild my life from scratch, but I have no idea where to even start. Any advice on coping through the holidays or managing this constant urge to write to them would be really appreciated. I know I've caused pain, but I also know I need to find a way forward, for myself, if nothing else. Thank you for listening. Story 2. How can I stop feeling sorry for her? 2 months ago, I revived a phone call from a friend that we need to meet up. The meeting would shatter the future I built up inside my head. The girl I loved, the girl I gave a second chance, had been cheating on me. We used to talk engagements, houses, and babies. The future I envisioned was for our children to have what I never had, a stable home in every imaginable way. Upon confronting her, she acted like she did not know what I was talking about. Little did she know my friend had contacted her friends to ask if the rumor he heard was true. I knew everything about her latest affair. Everything from when and how they met to the pictures on Snapchat she sent to her friends. She eventually confessed but stated they only met for coffee. He was an old high school teacher of hers. Her and I first met about 4 years ago. That time we lasted for 2 years until I one morning woke up to a text that she's dating one of her friends. I spent a year alone until we got back together. People told me I was crazy for taking her back, but this time we were going to last, I told myself. We will both be better this time. We lasted precisely 11 months. Last weekend I went drinking with one of her friends. Found out she cheated on me with 2 other people as well. I should be enraged, but I'm not. I've been through things magnitudes worse than this, and I am confident I'll be okay, but I worry for her. During this whole ordeal, she lost most of her close friends, which I definitely did not wish upon her. My goal was to deal with her problems, to make sure she never felt unsafe or sad, and now I can't anymore. Every activity I do gets cut off after a while. Need to check her Instagram, need to check her Facebook, need to look for signs she's doing okay. How can I let go? How do you suddenly stop loving someone? It's very difficult to hold a conversation with someone about what happened. When I look at pictures of her, I don't see a cheater. I see a beautiful girl with issues that makes our dreams of kids and houses impossible. Our relationship was not very healthy when you reflect upon it. She was manipulative and insanely jealous. But it was not all bad. The good days we spent together are still some of the best in my life. The thing I feel the most uneasy about is how she used to brag to her friends about cheating. She used to bring out pictures on her phone to proudly show off her latest secret. I often ask myself if I could have been a better boyfriend. What could have been different? Maybe if I was better looking? Should I have worked less? None of it matters now, but the thoughts remain. Edit. When she spent that year with her friend-turned-boyfriend, she contacted me a few times. Usually it consisted of her wanting me back, but she always kept me at an arm's length. Whenever I told her to choose between the two of us, I was cut off. We would not work out, she told me. Begun seeing a pattern and told myself to be cautious at all times as not be played again. Eventually, a larger event in her life led to me allowing her to visit me, and that visit led to other things. Unbeknownst to me, she had not broken up with her current boyfriend, which she told me she had. Learned this 2 weeks later, left her, allowed her back after 1 week. She continued denying she had cheated on him with me. She told me her exes cheated on her, how they tried to control and monitor her. It makes me think, she has told people I cheated with 2 different girls during our first time together. To this day, I still got no clue who these girls are supposed to be. You're lucky you didn't marry her. I know that may be hard to hear right now, but it's the truth. If this is how she treated you in a committed relationship, lying, manipulating, and repeatedly betraying your trust, imagine how much worse it could have been if you'd built a marriage and a family with her. You were the only one fighting for a better version of the relationship, but she clearly wasn't ready to reciprocate that effort. Love doesn't just disappear overnight, and letting go is tough, but staying attached to someone who repeatedly hurt you, who bragged about her betrayals, and who couldn't commit to you fully would have only caused you more pain in the long run. Remember, a relationship should be a partnership built on trust, not something you have to constantly question. You've done your best, and now it's time to take that compassion and energy you gave to her and redirect it toward yourself.